I've been asked to give my thoughts on this whole Ginga Jay back chat situation. Let me preface what I'm going to say, just so you get an understanding of who I am. To be very honest with you guys, I pride myself in my honesty. I haven't really experienced the stereotypical black woman trope in my romantic situations, okay? I think outside of my first girlfriend, who was, a little bit stereotypical. I mean, she was also very intelligent, fit. She did rock a weave and extensions, but I mean, most guys don't really care about that if we're being real. And I'm going to probably expound on that in a bit. But, she was like 19, so I can't hold it past her to not be as patient or to not get absorbed into the whole quote-unquote black culture thing that we've got here in the West, right? But other than that, like most black women who I've dated have been friendly, welcoming, fit, submissive to certain degrees. And I know some of you find that word to be offensive, but it's the truth. So that's why when I've come to YouTube, I've never came directly with that whole, F black women. I hate black women, or black women this, black women that. The unfortunate thing that I've experienced, however, is from family members, from close family friends. Unfortunately, I've in many ways been a victim when I was a kid to older women, older sisters who would berate me for my black features. Okay, I have full lips. I have probably typical quote-unquote negroid features. I've never been ashamed of my features, but I've been reminded time and time again, particularly by black women, of how negative or bad my facial features are, okay? And the reason why I mention this is because the question of this debate or this crash out, I don't agree with the way Ginga Jay handled it, but I think he raised good points. And you see people are distracted by the crash out, but again and again and again, avoiding the questions that are being raised. And also, this is a classic example of the frustrations that a lot of people feel when, especially from black women, when they are in situations like these, arguments that are circular. You answer a question, but they put words into your mouth. You answer their questions honestly now, and they still don't want to believe it. They want to believe whatever they think. They want to go with their headcanon. And this only leads to the type of frustration that we saw in Ginga Jay. But going back to my story, my personal stories, look, I think we can all see clear as day that a lot of black women suffer with self-hate. And the reason why I laugh is because it's it's pretty embarrassing, to be honest, that a person who insists on a daily basis on wearing hair that resembles another race of people, hair type that you can't grow normally, for someone like that to be at the forefront of the conversation with regards to self-hate is laughable. My experience is just one experience growing up, but it is a very consistent one. I don't even directly blame the black women for feeling how they feel. I agree, we come up in a racist environment, especially back in the millennial years, 80s, 90s. Systemic racism still lingering, and it still lingers today, but back then, kids had to play with blonde Barbie dolls. Kids in the 80s and 90s, there were no real black, brown dolls. So little kids were heavily influenced by, mainstream culture and white ideals. So this is why many kids grow up to be this way. But also on top of that, our parents, our mothers, especially many of whom come from the former colonies, they were mentally colonized. I hate to say it, people in my own family, older family members, very colonized. Some of these people will outright come out and say, I want you to marry a white person so you can bring me some mixed kids. They adore whiteness. Some I know that won't even go back to Africa because they're afraid of getting tanned by the sun. Many of whom are using these bleaching lotions with harsh chemicals to maintain that yellow tint in their skin. And of course, when it comes to beauty standards, the gender who is affected the most is women, because women have been held throughout all of human history, no matter what culture you go to, as being the subjects of beauty. You know, this has been their burden. For men, it's been capabilities and strength. And for women, it's been beauty. So yeah, women are heavily influenced by this Western white beauty standard ideal. And this is why I don't completely put the blame on them, especially when their parents have this mindset as well. But I also can't blame the native demographic for having their own ideals in beauty. But it still remains to be said that, unfortunately, a lot of black women have a lot of self-esteem issues when it comes to their appearance. Now, a lot of black women say they wear weave because on the job they are forced, or they are kind of passively told that it's not appropriate to come with your natural hair. And I don't believe that. Again, it could have been the case a few decades ago, but now there is legislation where it will make it very easy for the employee to take that employer to a tribunal. Very, very easy. All you need is confirmation, clarification that that is what is happening, right? So I find that to be a cop-out. And to be honest, it really scares me. Now, I'm off the market, I'm not dating, okay? So you can argue that it's none of my business, but it is, to be honest, because I'm still a part of the community, regardless. And what I witness is more of a mental health issue. Seeing any brown person with blonde hair is strange. Now, someone is going to point out, some smart ass is going to say, oh, there are black people who naturally have blonde hair. Yeah, some off-key population in Australia, perhaps. But us, modern black people, mainstream black people, most of us do not have blonde hair. So I just find this to be more of a mental health issue. Like, some people are just so mentally defeated that even just looking in the mirror, I've experienced this personally. When some of these people wake up, they look in the mirror, they can't stand how they look. They can't stand it, to the effect of wrapping up their natural hair. I've seen it physically, man. A lot of these women, their demeanors change when they are natural. They are irritable. They are unhappy when they are natural. And this is a very deep and important thing that is happening. But again, people are focused on this man's crash out, but are not focused on what he's saying. And the funny thing about Backchat is that Backchat is all about crash outs and controversial talking points. So that really shouldn't come at a surprise, but it did. And really, a lot of it is just black men being simps. And I have to say it. I've said it many times in the past. Black men are the biggest simps on the planet. A black man will unalive you over a woman. Now, yeah, of course, this happens across the board, but I just find that black men are just so easy to be mind controlled, to be dog whistled by women to go and fight for them. Even in this show, a lot of black women were arguing, why didn't the other black men basically beat up Ginga Jay over, you know, quote unquote protecting them? And this just showed me how powerful and how domineering black women are in the black community. With a simple dog whistle, your life is on the line. And then you got all these other black male podcasts, and everyone starts off their sentence with, oh, I love black women. Black women have been the only people in my life that has helped me do this and that. And you know it's nonsense, because the stats tell you otherwise. You might love black women, quote unquote, but then why is it something like 60-70% of British Caribbean men with white women? I don't even want to divide us going to the whole African versus Caribbean type of thing, but it's always these type of guys that will start off, I love black women, but when it comes to it, hey, your dating history tells us otherwise. And I think also black women need to smarten up to that. These guys might just be telling you what you like to hear, but is it actually the truth? Your chances of having a family and having the husband that you want and having the security, it's on a very tight timeline. And that's why I have empathy. I don't look at ratchet black women and laugh at them and joke on them. I feel a lot of empathy for them. I feel sorry for them, because a lot of them are just lost in the sauce. And I know a lot of them wake up saddened by the reality that many of them are single, many of them are single mothers and have to struggle. The life of a single mother is terrible. It absolutely is. Waking up every day and your whole thing is about school run and making sure the house is good, and you can't just simply pop out without kids, You can't just go on a trip and you have to just think about yourself. You have to buy tickets for your kids. This is a very hard life that if you didn't figure things out in your youth, this is your destination, single mother. I'm not so concerned about hair weaves. To be honest, it's none of our business. And this is something to the black men as well. All you need to find is one woman. Okay, a lot of you black men online, you want to make videos, complain about so-called Keisha. You're doing yourself a disservice too. You're putting too much attention and focus on people that you don't want. Why? You know my stance on interracial relationships. The best woman wins. I don't care what the color, what the creed, at this point, even religion. If you're a good woman, if you are respectable, if you are faithful, you value honesty, you love yourself, you take care of yourself, you are fit, you are hygienic, the best woman, that is the best woman. So there's no real point focusing, point attention. To be honest, I question why Ginga Jay even went on the show. He said he's got, he's Asian woman that he's content with. Why go on your show and express your thoughts? Why go on the show and express your thoughts about black women? There comes a point where you just have to, you're over that now. And this is why I speak to the black men as well. Like all this old trauma from the past, you need to resolve. It's your responsibility to get over that. Just as it is for black women to get over their self-esteem issues. It's your responsibility. It's all of our responsibility to deal with the demons that we've had. And to be honest, it's not your responsibility to tell someone that you don't know to wear whatever you want them to wear, if I'm being honest. This is why it's very important to just focus on your own, okay? Whatever that is, focus on what you want, focus on what you have. Some people are in relationships. I've always found this funny, especially about guys in the manosphere. A lot of these guys complain about women all day, live with women. So it's like they're complaining about women and then they go to bed with that woman after their little live stream. So I always wonder, are they actually complaining about their women, their partners that they're with, that gives them the content and all the vim and vigor to talk about it so coherently, so in depth? It's very weird. If you make the sound, let me give you a little lesson. If you make the sound, for those of you, I'm in my late 30s, for those of you in your early 30s, 20s, make the sound decisions now while you can, while you have time. So you're not forced, when you're around my age, into desperation. You're not forced to be with women that you don't like or with men that you don't like. Because that is the typical scenario for a lot of people that end up wasting their youth. In conclusion, I think that the whole cancel culture is disgusting, to be honest. I think this guy who served over a decade in prison and came out and found, some sort of gig that kept him going. I think it's unfair that on a controversial show, and for saying a controversial thing that people are anticipating, that gets him cancelled. I think that's very unfair. And in fact, I think on that show, in that scenario, all those men were actually on trial for their preference. If you look at how it was set up, and if you look at how those women were repeatedly clashing with their answers and they were trying to force out the idea that these black men hate themselves for finding other groups of people attractive. And again, this was why Ginga Jay crashed out. It was frustration. And to be honest, listening to that, it is frustrating. It's just weird because obviously this is a stupid show. And to be honest, I don't even watch these type of shows. I don't subscribe to any of this junk. But when it's so overwhelmingly spoken about, it just ends up creeping into my algorithm. I think someone posted about it in the Discord. Even when they posted it, I didn't respond to it. I didn't press the link because I don't care to hear and see these shows. Because for the most part, they don't do us any service as a community. It makes us look trash. But at the end of the day, again, this was a controversial show with controversial thoughts, with controversial or comic, people on the show. And so to be cancelled over something controversial that you said is hypocritical. But I'm hoping that, it also makes fewer people go onto these shows for anything serious. Because I think for the men especially, it's a setup. There are great double standards that some men don't even understand. In the black community who watch these shows, they're talking more so about a black man who quote unquote hates himself for asking a woman, why are you wearing fake hair? Why are you wearing fake eyelashes? And you're telling me that I hate myself. It really doesn't make sense. But as expected, again, the double standard, no one is talking about what the man said. They're just talking about his crash out. Yes, many of our counterparts, black women, are out of bounds, very disrespectful. They didn't grow up with fathers, so they don't like you. It's not that they don't like you, but they've grown up blaming their father for all the ills in their life. And in many cases, the mother reinforces that by spewing, indoctrinating their children with these ideas. So it's not just black women, black men as well hate men or feel uneasy around men. I can see this on a day-to-day basis. Walking past black men, I can tell really from looks the types of black men that were probably raised in a single mother household. These guys look more anxious and look more fearful when I walk past them because they're probably not used to having a male strong presence. Whenever they've had a male strong presence, it's probably been someone who's negative. And this is the pivotal role of a father in the household. This is a person who is, as your father, is unquestionably in a strong position as a role model for you. Whether they're strong or quote unquote weak, they're still in a position where you have to look up to them. So you don't associate that masculine presence with negative connotations. Well, you might, with regards to, some form of discipline, but at the end of the day, you respect it, you understand it, but most importantly, you have empathy for it because that's your father. When you don't grow up with this, there is just a general unease around men. And this is what a lot of these women suffer with. This mistrust, disrespect. Black men will eventually want to procreate. Okay? And this is why it is imperative that you have an open mind when it comes to your spouse. You see, many of these pro-black men, I've spoken about this before, raised by single mothers. The pro-black movement is essentially to adore black women. Black women use pro-black rhetoric to keep you away from dating out. Regardless of how they might treat you, generally speaking, they just don't want you to date out because doing that invokes a very deep and crushing inferiority complex that presides in the souls of many black women, and this is deep rooted since childhood, and it's very hard to shake loose. It's very hard for a black woman to feel comfortable in her natural hair, as I've said. And again, I don't laugh at this because it's unfortunately not even their fault. I'm pretty sure if these black women who wear weaves grew up in an African country that wasn't colonized and, the whole race wasn't in this situation where they're being put under a microscope and they're being questioned, are you inferior? Are you different because, none of your countries are successful? If we are not put under this immense pressure, I'm pretty sure these girls will grow up to be very proud of who they are, just as it has been in the ancient past. This is why in the past I've admired the Ethiopian culture and the women, because at least from the outside looking in, they are very proud of their heritage. Many of them can wear their hair natural. And just a quick one, going to the weeds, because a lot of women like to rebut and say, every type of woman wear weave. And I agree with that. But again, the biggest difference is that when a white woman wear weaves, the hair that they pick looks like their natural hair. When an Indian woman wears a weave, the same thing, the hair type is like their natural hair. But when a black woman wears weaves, the hairstyle and type is not an afro, it's not a hair that naturally grows out of their scalp. It's looking like Asian hair. This is the problem, and this is why people who are like this can't talk about self-hate, or at least should not be at the forefront of trying to judge who is a self-hater. because unfortunately many of you hate yourselves as well. You see, what's very key, what people like Ginga Jay say, is that when they describe their experiences with black women, it's not about how you look. This is why I said weaves are not really the biggest deal. It's more so the treatment. People never forget how they are treated, especially when they're mistreated. When you listen to these black guys speak about their disdain for black women, it's about treatment and disrespect. It's not about image. I know black men. Black men, image-wise, are probably the less choosy men out there. And really, when it comes to black women's body type, that's the prime form that black men want. Even if they go to other races, if you see a black man with a white woman, I'm sure that white woman has a back. I'm sure that white woman is chunkier than normal. She's not petite. So this is a perfect natural sign that black men really are naturally attracted to black women. But it's the behavior that a lot of these men talk about. If you wear weave, don't judge anyone as a self-hater, because it makes you look stupid. What do you guys think? Write comments below, but most importantly, hit the link in the first message below so you can interact with us on the Discord. It's a private Discord, but you can communicate with people with a like mind down there. But until the next video, peace.